sir. Hi, everybody, and welcome to our final edition of Coach's Night Out for the 2024 football season. Cedar City Brewing Company is our site. They've been great to us and making us feel right at home. Advantage Roofing Contractors, LLC, Shop Springs Creamery, the Salas Realty Group, THW Insurance Services, LLC, Cumberland University Athletics, and DT McCall & Sons are our sponsors. They help make this program possible. Coach's Night Out airs live on Blue Devil Broadcasting, and then you can also find this show 8:30 Thursday, 8:30. It'll be 8:30 on Thursday morning at the Wilson Post Facebook page and all other kind of sites. We've got kind of an odd high school football schedule this week because the TSSAA has mandated Region 4 plays on Thursday night. So here's that schedule. Wilson Central goes to Cookeville on Thursday for a Halloween special. Mount Juliet at Green Hill. Gallatin at Lebanon. On Friday, November 1, Friendship Christian travels to Seymour to play the Kings Academy. Mount Juliet Christian will play at Clarksville Academy. Community High School out of Unionville will play at Watertown at game 7 o'clock at Robinson Stadium. Changed the schedule up just a little bit tonight. Tim Mathis was kind enough to go on first with us. Tim Mathis, head coach of the number 22 ranked Cumberland University Phoenix, 6-2. They'll be at home against Lindsey Wilson. Senior Day on Saturday at Noakes Lassiter Field. Outstanding win against the University of the Cumberlands, 49-25. You guys were down 15-14 at the half. I believe it was 18-14 early in the third. And then you go nuts and you score 35 points unanswered, Tim. What a run by that offense.
It was a good run, really. The offense, it was really a good run by the defense because we got put in the red zone 3 different times by our defense with turnovers or in a muff punt that we didn't really have to drive very far to get points. But it was just, the offense, defense just kind of clicked there in the third and fourth quarter, and I didn't even realize, I think until I read your story, that we had 35 unanswered points. That wasn't computing to me, but math was never my, even though it's part of my last name, I don't have a clue about it. But it's good to have the win, but we still feel that we haven't put a complete game together yet. But it's crazy how momentum they had the momentum in the second quarter. When you look at the stats, I think 15 minutes of the second quarter, they had the ball 10 of those 15. So we didn't really have the ball, and they just kind of stole the momentum from us. And the guys come in at halftime, there really wasn't a lot of talking and yelling and screaming. It was just, everybody's just ticked off and was ready to get back out there. And we kicked off to them. And the good thing is they had a really good kickoff return, but our defense held them to a field goal. And from that point on, that was like a momentum change.
You talked about that in the post game. That some folks might say, well, you gave up points on the opening possession, but you didn't give up 7. You gave up 3.
Right, and I think that was a big. I think that's when it started right there. And then we hit them for, I think the second or third play after they kicked to us, we hit them for a big, just a hitch and go play that went for a really big for 40, 50 yards, and it was just clicking from there.
And I can't recall this having happened in my recent memory. It may have happened with some other school, but 3 Cumberland University football players were named Player of the Week for the Mid-South Conference in all their different categories. Your quarterback, Holloway, was the Offensive Player of the Week. Thrill Kill, the guy who plays in the secondary, number 19 from Germantown, 2 interceptions, 5 tackles, was the Defensive Player of the Week. He had 2 long returns. One of them got called back. It would have been a pick 6. And then your kicker, Cantner, 7 for 7 on PATs.
Yes.
And you swept the awards. I can't recall that happening. And you had more guys who really made big contributions. But it's great to see those 3 recognized.
Right. I mean, that doesn't happen very often. I mean, it's seldom that it's just one team carries, because you might have somebody at some team that does something
right
something extraordinary or whatever. But that is a huge honor, and we did have. Jeremiah Bryant had 3 or 4 touchdowns, running touchdowns. We had other guys that were big contributors too. But it is cool to have them all sweep the honors because that doesn't happen very much.
You were finally able to get into your goal line offense, which was Jeremiah in the Wildcat, unbalanced. Let's go. He scored ever how many touchdowns? He scored 3 touchdowns running,
on that,
and then had a pass reception for a touchdown, 4 scores. He only had about 25 yards rushing, but he's down there close, and you guys are banging it in for touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean it's something that we've done that all year. We work it all the time, but we've never really. This seems like we've never been in the situations where we're doing the goal line stuff, but we had chances there, and the last one he ran. I mean, this is just a thing of beauty to watch. So when we get an unbalanced, our 2 tackles are on the left there, and our tackles, the guy that they were down blocking, so we're on the left hash, and by the end of the whistle, they got their guy on the opposite numbers in the end zone. I mean, that guy had to pay to get back in the stadium, and Nick Burge is the lead blocker on that play, and Nick runs through the hole and does this because there's nobody. I mean, there's nobody there to block, and it's just Jeremiah just kind of, just walks in there. But it's really good, and it's effective how we do what we do on goal line. We really just ran one play there. We have 3 or 4 that we run on that, but we just kept running the same play because it kept working.
Holloway, your quarterback, another good football game. Over 50% completions, got some good yardage, ran the ball very effectively.
Yeah, his first score, the way they run their defense, and of course he was a defensive coordinator at Georgetown for 20-something years before he became the head coach at Cumberland's, and so he's going to run his defense a certain way, and they're going to key certain people, and so we knew that was going to happen. So they keyed our running backs going one way, our line was blocking one way, our running backs going another way, and it was just a parting of the Red Sea. And you can't give Luke that kind of opening because he does have wheels, and then he went untouched for 50 or 60 yards. And it's just the way they run their defense. And we stopped them from doing that most of the rest of the game, but we knew we were going to have opportunities for that. But he's making good decisions. When he makes good decisions, we have a great chance winning the football game.
Well, and it's not always you get the play call in, you go to the line of scrimmage, you run the play, but sometimes within those plays, there are different things you can pull off, particularly in that run-pass option that Cumberland uses, the RPO game. And you're going to have some things because the defensive unit can't cover it all.
Right. I mean, that's the beauty of that, and it's still, back my background and what I love to do is just option football, and RPO is just another form of option. Yeah. That's all it is.
Instead of making the pitch this way,
you're throwing it downfield instead of pitching it backwards.
Yeah.
But you're still, and if it's run right and if you read it right, you can't be wrong. And that's the part of our quarterback making the right decision. As long as he makes the right decision, it's hard to stop that offense.
Is it tough sometimes for a kid to get it in his head that, hey, 4 yards is a great play? They're thinking home run.
Right. Yes. That's any kid, that's just something you drill in them because everybody's like that. You're thinking, well, that guy's take what they give, because a lot of times when you make the mistakes, you don't take the little dump down or whatever for 3 or 4 yards and keep the ball moving. You're being greedy. You want to score in a hurry, and that usually leads to something bad happening when you do that. So it's something that you got to be disciplined with it.
And again, Keon, thrill kill, 2 interceptions, 5 tackles, 2 picks, long returns. He had a game DBs dream about.
Yeah, and the crazy thing about Keon is, and all season most people don't throw at him, and they don't challenge him, they don't throw at him a lot. So Cumberland's for whatever reason did, and he made him pay for it. He was just backpedaling, the eyes where they need to be, and breaking on the ball real well. And he had 2 great returns. One of them got called back because apparently, you can't block a guy. We blocked a guy starting at the numbers, and he ended up on the track. I mean, he just
you blocked him out of bounds.
We blocked him out of bounds, and they threw a flag for blocking out of bounds. And you do at some point you got to stop that. And Kyle Allen wished we'd have stopped because it's the first time he's ever been run over on the sideline. He got absolutely murdered, but Cameron was okay. But
that's the important.
That's the important thing. But so that guy, he scored on that play, so it got called back, and then he took one all the way to the 1. He was so close to taking it in, but and he's one of our backup return guys, so he's a great returner anyway. He's a good skilled guy that can run the ball. So, but he did fantastic. And defense did fantastic, changing and becoming offense as soon as he intercepted. They all went to find an opposite color jersey and went to blocking, and so good things happened there, and it just. That gave us some, 2 times where it was really short field, and then they muffed a punt, a fair catch too that we got on like 5 or 6. But I can't speak enough. Defense did really well. They back with that of them scoring 2 touchdowns there in the first half. And it's just a momentum. A lot of people just don't understand that, but momentum's a real thing. It happens in games and stuff, but. Defense did a great job again of just completely shutting them down. Other than giving up that 3 points right there at the beginning of the second half, they didn't sniff the end zone until we gave up a garbage touchdown that made the score look better than what it was.
When you got a guy like Keon Thrillkill playing one corner, does that kind of cut the field in half? Because in the pass game, as you've said, they don't go at him much.
In some ways it does, because he does, he play a lot of our defense. He's playing where he's playing the man side of it, where you can help on the other side with some things. And so, it's a challenge to him. And when you do put somebody there and you're saying, hey, you got to shut this guy down, that puts pressure on him. But it speaks volumes of what kind of kid he is. And it goes back, you said where he's from, and Germantown's and we got 4 or 5 guys from Germany. It's a great program, and they're coached right in high school, so when they get to us, they've been coached well, so it's easier to make that transition to doing stuff like that because he's kind of ahead of the game because of the coaching he got in high school.
And playing in the secondary, athleticism is huge, but technique is about
everything. It's everything, especially at corner. Technique is everything. You can't be slow and play there by any means, but it's all technique and doing what you're coached to do it, because the technique's right, you're usually in an area to either knock the ball down or intercept it. So it's all technique.
And the usual cast of characters for Cumberland's defensive unit had good games. Des Wallace, Samples, I think, recovered a fumble. Mm-hmm. Your linebacker from Wisconsin, I've gone blank on his name.
Boston Follis. He had a really good game.
Again, guys running to the football, getting a lot of helmets on the football.
Yeah, they did. And Derek Taylor at safety made some really good plays. And it's just we got even call them this way. I call it like we got a gang of 11 over there that are going to get to the ball with bad intentions. And it reminds me of back when in the late 70s they did an article on Sports Illustrated with Coach Russell at Georgia. They were trying to bait him that they were talking about how physical football was and that you need to outlaw it and everything. They made a comment, there's 10 people right there about to hit the tackler, and he was pissed that the one guy wasn't in the picture. We're kind of that way where we want 11 guys on the ball, and they do a good job of doing that.
6-2, 2-1 in the conference now. Is that right?
2-2.
2-2 in the conference now. You've got Lindsey Wilson coming to Cumberland for the final home game of the regular season. It's senior day. That'll get started close to 1 o'clock. Kickoff at 1:30. What about Lindsey Wilson? What do they bring to the table?
it's going to be a challenge because I was telling our players today, they're coming in thinking if they run the table, they're conference champs. So they got everything ahead of them, and they're a good football team. Apparently, they are only giving up 40-something yards rushing, and so something's going to give Saturday because we're not changing our game plan. So they're either going to stick to it or we're going to crush it. So, but that's a reflection sometimes of who they play. They've played a lot of throw teams that throw more than they run, but we're definitely going to challenge that statistic, and then it goes down to who wins up front is going to win the game on offense and defense. If we can control the line of scrimmage offensively and defensively, we got a great shot at winning the game.
If you can run the football effectively, not only does it, you've got the football, you're hanging on to it, the other team doesn't have it, but that has a demoralizing effect on the defense. They can't get off the field because you're hitting them with chunks.
Right, and it also opens up. It allows for big plays in the passing game too, because you got to put more people into the box to try to stop the run, and so it opens up a lot of things on the back end. So, it goes hand in hand, but it is absolutely demoralizing if you can't stop the run. Everything you want is on offense, and that you do want to make that happen.
Maybe it's a little early to talk about this sort of thing, but I mean, it's the goal to get this football program into the NAIA playoffs. You're ranked 22nd. Talk to us, if you would, Tim, about the logistics of that. If you can maintain this ranking, if you can finish high in the conference, what goes into deciding who goes to the playoffs?
I mean, it's simple for us. We got to win our last 2 games, or we're not getting in. I mean, that's how that is, and we still got to, and a lot of things are going to shake out in the rankings and all that. And it's just we've got to keep climbing. We probably wouldn't get in at 22, so we got to get a little higher. But the main thing is you got to win out, or you don't have a shot. And where we're at, and of not getting votes for the longest time because we are down, is you make it, we're probably on the road, but that I don't care. We go to Alaska and play on a glacier, and we're going to fight on the ice. The object's to get in. So and the basic way to get in is we got to win out.
You got Lindsey Wilson this week. You go to Faulkner in Montgomery, Alabama the following week for the regular season finale. Knock on wood, you've been a fairly healthy football team this year, and it's tough to win if you don't have your guys.
No, it is, and we have been fortunate enough with injuries, but it also speaks to character of kids. We got kids that are playing. There's a difference. I talk about it all the time, being hurt and injured, and you got to have guys that can play through the hurt. Football, you're going to hurt in football.
That's the nature of the game.
It's the nature of the game. It's a tough game, and it speaks to character of kids that they're going to fight through the bumps and bruises and the hurts or whatever and get after it. And that's a big deal of it. Is sometimes if the season's not going how you want, some of those guys that are hurting aren't gonna they're gonna make it a bigger deal than it is, and we don't have that at all, and we have not beat on the wood that we hadn't had any huge problems.
Again, you hope that you've got another good turnout in that recruiting pavilion. You'll have a bunch of kids come in for that game, right?
It's going to be nuts. As far as it's definitely our biggest, and usually our last game of the year usually is because it's near the end of the season. So a lot of high school football is over with. So obviously everybody's not going to the playoffs. So a lot of kids just kind of wait to the end to go to games or whatever. So we've got probably double what we've had the other times, and no telling what it's going to end up being. And so there's going to be a huge crowd there, and then hopefully again we have a huge, being 6-2 and it being senior day. Hopefully we have another huge, crowd, because it makes such a difference to have a loud, proud crowd that wants to cheer on the Phoenix. it helps us. It helps defeat that other team.
How many seniors, and it may fluctuate, I know some guys are seniors, they've only played 3 years, some guys have been there 5 years. How many guys do you think will go through senior day?
We got 12 that are 12 football guys that are going through, and we got some managers that are going too, but only 12. So this is another, from last year, another small. This is really the end of the remnants of the COVID years. Of the small, and it's a special group for us too, because these are really the guys that help make it to where we're at today, to build it. And these are the last of the guys that kind of hung around during. We lost so many kids during COVID that just couldn't do school remotely and what have you. But this is the last group of that, and so it's not a huge class. Our next 2 classes are going to be really, really big, but only losing 12, offensively, we lose 1, possibly 2.
Wow.
So you got all those coming back. It's really, of starters, it's the same way on defense. We only lose about 2, so we got most everybody's going to come back next year.
That bodes so well for the future, and that's what you've tried to build for.
Right.
You've tried to redshirt some kids coming along and build toward this kind of class where you're going to have big numbers every year for a while after this group of 12 goes.
When I first got here, that's what we were getting toward, and then when COVID hit, it blew a bomb and everything, and you basically we had to start over because we lost so many kids. So, but we weren't the only. Every school did.
Yeah.
I mean, it was kind of a mass for every school, but it took 2 or 3 years to build back up. But it goes to we're really believe in recruiting character kids. We're going to recruit them. You want talented kids, and we got really talented kids, but we're going to recruit character over talent every day of the week.
Well, I've been on the sideline with those guys, and you go to some games, and there's a lot of, and they're grown men on the sideline. Let's don't have any, but they act the right way.
They do.
They act the right way.
The head coach does enough of the acting the foolish.
That comes along with it.
I think I take that part away from them, so they don't have to.
Well,
although my wife says that. That's what.
Just make sure she's happy. Tim Mathis, head coach at Cumberland, has been with us. Thanks for the visit. Have a great game against Lindsey Wilson on Saturday, pal.
Thank you. Go Phoenix.
Tim Mathis, head coach at Cumberland. We'll be back with more after this timeout. Thank you for staying with us. Our second segment of Coach's Night Out, live from Cedar City Brewing Company. Let me go over that schedule again. It's a split schedule because of TSSAA mandates. Thursday games include Wilson Central at Cookeville, Mount Juliet at Green Hill, Gallatin at Lebanon. Friday games, November 1, Friendship travels to Seymour to the Kings Academy. Friendship, Mount Juliet Christian at Clarksville Academy. Community out of Unionville plays at Watertown. Josh Crouch, head coach at Green Hill, with us. And When you are forced by the TSSAA to play games on Thursday, you can either bark about it or embrace it, and it sounds like the folks at Green Hill have embraced it, and you're trying to do some things to make it special.
Yeah, we're trying to make it community involved, not only just Green Hill, but Mount Juliet as well. We're going to have a joint trick or treat. So we're going to have trunks lined up on the first row of our parking lot, just filled with candy. So if littles want to come out and do their trick or treating at the high school before the game, they're welcome. We'll be out there somewhere around 5 o'clock, so they can do that beforehand and then come into the game afterwards. But we've tried to make it an event for people, and I think that's what Friday night should be.
Well, and because there's going to be a crowd like no other. Your place seats 5,000. I said in my story, if you get there late, it's standing room only. I don't know when they shut the doors. But you guys have set up shuttle parking on the north side of the campus where baseball, softball, soccer, tennis is located, and they're going to use the W.A. Wright Elementary parking, which is adjacent, and run shuttles back and forth, because it'll be a nightmare trying to get in and out of that place.
And that road going to our north campus is single lane, so we've asked people not to park on that main road. So we'll go out there. The shuttle's going to run for an hour before the game and an hour after the game. So regardless of whatever time you get there, you'll be able to jump on a bus and get brought over and dropped off at the front gate.
And there are senior night activities for non-football. I believe
we've changed it now because of the weather. Yeah,
okay.
So because of the weather that looks to be impeding, we're going to move the senior night festivities to the first round of the playoffs.
Okay.
So that home game is going to be considered a senior night for the fall sports. We did our senior night the very first week, so football was not going to be involved.
Which in the grand scheme of things sounds like a great idea. Have it, recognize those kids before they play the first game.
Yeah, and it worked out well for us. And it wasn't solely because of this, but at Thursday night, I was worried about getting family in on town that were working at, mom and dad, or even grandma, grandpa that are maybe out of state or out of town. Being that our last game was on a Thursday night, thought that maybe we move it to the first game. That way, we allow people to get in, really have excitement about the season kicking off. We really get the chance to honor those 17 seniors, and it's probably something that we'll do in the future as well.
You're coming off a 28-14 win over Cookeville. Cookeville, probably one of the most physical football teams that I have seen this season. How'd you think your bunch matched up with them?
Going into the game, I was worried about the physicality part of it. They had a lot of seniors up front. On offensive line, defensive line. The quarterback in itself was a grown man.
He's a tight end.
6'3", 240, runs the ball really hard, and we've got two sophomores playing for us, one on the defensive line, one in the secondary, that a lot of times were both matched up with him one-on-one and tackling situations. And I thought we did such a great job of gang tackling, vice tackling, getting to the hips and tackling legs. And then offensively, we went to more 12 personnel against them.
Okay.
We brought in an extra offensive lineman. Devin Ryder came in as an ineligible tight end, and then went some 12 personnel stuff out there to be able to run the football a little bit more, but that's something we hadn't shown yet, and was able to run the football effectively. We had a 100-yard receiver, a 100-yard passer, and a 100-yard runner, 200-yard runners in the game on Friday.
Well, you talk about balance. That's the very definition. Cartwright and your quarterback Burroughs both with 100, and then Nick Owens with 100. That's pretty special right there.
Yeah, it's tough to defend. As a defensive guy, started on the defensive side, you got to kind of pick what you're going to take away. And when they were able to load the box, we were able to throw it effectively. And whenever they were trying to, play down in distance, we were able to run the ball effectively. So I think that's tip of the hat to Coach White and the staff, offensive staff. Coach White does such a phenomenal job with us. Not only have we grown offensively, but in the weight room we've grown substantially. So
Zach's been a great addition to your staff, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has. And he and I have worked together for a long time, and I was actually an assistant for him when he was the offense coordinator at Wilson Central.
Okay.
So, to say that I've got full trust in what he does, I just don't try to mess him up. I
tell you how old I am. I covered him when he played at Mount Juliet for Dan Winfrey, and that's going back a few decades. But he's a guy who has played the game, has studied the game, and knows about how to utilize personnel in different situations, and he's not stuck in one way of doing things.
Yeah, and that's what I was just about to say. I think Zach's been in wing tee, he's been triple option, he's been spread, he's been successful in all of it. For him to be able to identify, like, hey, we're going to go 12 personnel here, we're going to run gap scheme, zone scheme, and then next week we're being 10. The week before that we're in 11. He's just got such a wide range in his toolbox that we can get to, and not to mention, I think our offensive line has taken a step forward with Coach Eric coming back last year as his first year. This year is really his full first year with the off season, and our offensive line bunch has grown tremendously, and those two guys being added to us has helped us a ton on the offense.
Trey Eric can coach football.
He can with anybody. He's forgot more football than I know, so I'm just there to kind of help, try to pick his brain every now and then.
You got Mount Juliet coming to your place. Actually, this will be the fourth meeting because you couldn't play them the first year. You had a schedule. You picked up Republic's schedule when they folded. This will be the fourth time to play the Bears. And again, it's boiled down to the last game of the regular season for the region championship.
Yeah, you can't write a storybook ending on it. We have a film crew following us this year. So happen to be 9-0. We've got a phenomenal sports broadcasting group with Christian Capozzi, and our athletic director EJ Wood has done a phenomenal job the entire year. So for us to get to this point and be where we are, I think kind of leads to Friday with all the stuff that's around the game. It leads to the atmosphere being what it is, and I think the high school kids really deserve that. I think our fan base deserves that. I think all of our parents deserve it. So I'm just excited to sit back on Friday, try to manage a game, and really try to be the best fan that I can be for our kids.
You've got a home game in the playoffs regardless. This football team has had a tremendous season to this point, but a win in this game kind of like icing on the cake.
Yeah, and I think it matters. The district that we are paired with, and everybody across the board it's going to be a difficult first round regardless, 1 through 4. And for us, and I hadn't looked into this. I heard it on a show this morning, but went back and looked at how many 10-win teams have been in Wilson County, just in general. I think Mount Juliet's had 4 in their history. I haven't looked at Lebanon's.
Lebanon's had 2.
They've had 2 10-win seasons, and for us to be our 5th-year program, and we're sitting on the brink of possibly having our first 10-win season, I think is something that our kids can get excited about. Our people that support us can say that there's proof in what we're doing, and it's just a special time because I have never been a part of a 10-win season ever. So it's something that I'm trying to be where my feet are and really be not overlook and look into the playoffs and all that, and really try to focus on this last game.
Mount Juliet, good personnel. I'm going to talk about offense for a moment. Travers, their quarterback, has started to run the ball a little bit more. Crudup, their tailback, 700-plus yards this season. And Osborne, number 13, who plays in the slot and lines up everywhere, has been their top receiver in numbers of catches. They present some problems for a defense, don't they?
Yeah, and Tyler is, in my opinion, he's the best quarterback we've faced yet. We had the Strout kid at Gallatin, which was a really good quarterback, but we were in a hurricane that night, so he was kind of handcuffed on what he could do. But Tyler, where he has went from last year, and he was really good last year. He's now his 3rd year in this game. He's a veteran. He's very cool, calm, collected, so the atmosphere is not going to rattle him at all. I've been so impressed with watching him throw the football. He's been effective. He's thrown 1 pick the entire year. His receivers are, and you mentioned Baylor, but the Rosenberry kid is just as good. And
he's a big play guy.
He's a big play guy. They bring him in, and I think the Slocum and the tight ends that they have, you kind of, like we talked about earlier, what are you going to take away? You're going to take away John Michael, and that's hard to do already. And then if you kind of load the box, Tyler can sit back there with 8 guys in Max Pro and throw one-on-one routes with Baylor and Rosenberry. And I think where they've grown the last year, they had some tendencies last year. This year it's not nearly as telling throughout 10 games. They've been pretty balanced, really effective in everything they do, and really well coached.
Well, and the thing Osborne does is he'll line up anywhere. If he lines up in the backfield, he can get out with a linebacker on him, and that's not a good matchup a lot of times.
And last year in that game too, Baylor's playing with a broken wrist, and had a cast on, and I know that hindered him a little bit. We didn't get John Michael last year because he was hurt, so there was a lot of injuries that they had last year that we were fortunate enough to capitalize on some things. Had those two guys been in, maybe a different ball game, but they're going to be at full force. They're going to be really excited about playing this game, and I know defensively, looking at them, we've got our hands full. It's something that we haven't seen a dynamic enough offense like this since we played Deuce and Chuck's group, because Chuck can do so much moving guys around. So this is going to be a big test for us defensively.
Mount Juliet's defensive unit, a guy who's stuck out to me is number 0, Waller. Plays in the back end of that defense. He's like a center fielder back there. He's everywhere.
Another 3-year starter.
Yeah.
You look at their back end in total with Six, Trey, Rosenberry, Kai Perry, and Dion. All of those guys have played 3 years now in this game. Linebacker core is a new kid, 2 new guys that didn't play last year, but everybody in the secondary is all returning guys. And I think that's their strength of their defense. They're ball hawks. They got 2 pick sixes against Cookville. They've always been really good in the secondary the last 2 or 3 years. And us, last year we had Aaron out there to be able to help with that. Nick's going to be in some spots this year to be moving around, but I think their secondary is good. They do a really good job of bringing pressure. So they'll mix their blitz pass. They'll first, second, or third down. You can't really get a tendency breaker on when pressure's coming, but they do a good job of not only calling pressures to get to the quarterback, but calling pressures to stop the run as well. So, and special teams. I know Trey is really high up on that. I mean, it's 3 phases of really good coach football.
Well, kicking game is big because they're going to put pressure on your punter.
Yeah.
And they attempted a free kick from about 48 yards against Lebanon, and Echeverria almost hit that thing.
Yeah.
They got a couple of kickers. Teams say, well, we've got a kicker, but they got 2.
They got 3. We lost the JV game because their JV kicker hit a 48-yarder to win the game. So it's impressive. It's something that's obviously they're coaching it well and people want to go there. But between Tate Marabitz and the other kicker Echeverria, they're 2 of the best, and they happen to be on the same program.
What does Green Hill got to do to be where you want to be at the end of that football game?
Yeah, we gotta handle the emotion of the game. We had 8 sophomores start for us last year, so those guys are juniors. So the atmosphere, I don't think, is such a big task for us this year. I think it's going to be emotional. So the first quarter is going to be the most important part. Who can jump out early? Who can make the least amount of mistakes? They don't turn the ball over hardly at all on offense. So if we can get 1 or 2 of them, maybe rattle them a little bit. But we've got to make sure the game that we lost in 22 or 23. No, 22 is right. 22. We had a kickoff return for a touchdown against us. We had a blocked field goal return for a touchdown against us. 14 points on special teams, and we lost by 6. I think was the final. So we can't do that kind of stuff and still be successful. But I think it's just come out and not cliche. Do what we do. But I don't think we have to play above ourselves. We just can't allow ourselves to have penalties and be caught up in the emotion side of the game.
And you feel like, and I'm sure Mount Juliet feels this way as well, at some point there's going to be a little bit of a run. You're going to make a run. They're going to make a run. Weathering that storm and getting things back under control is a big part of that kind of that recovery within a game.
Yeah, I think momentum with 15 to 18-year-olds is hard to overcome. You have to kind of break it and break the mental barrier between them when things start going wrong. So I think, like I said, if we can start early, or if we can get ahead early, if we can have something good happen early, it puts that good positive reinforcement back in us, and then we're on the move to take advantage as to being on the defense and being deflective. So I think it's for us. It's just we gotta navigate the beginning of it, and something's going to go bad. There's going to be a turnover. There's going to be a touchdown. There's going to be something that goes wrong. We just got to be able to capitalize and fight fire and be able to make a play the next play.
Well, have a good night. It ought to be a fun night of football at Green Hill on Thursday night, Halloween, trunk or treat, shuttle parking, the whole big deal.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here,
I
Josh.
appreciate you
Always
having me.
good talking to you.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Thank
Josh Crouch, head coach at Green Hill, with us here in the second segment of the show. Stay tuned. Chuck Gentry from Lebanon will be with us after these words. Hey, our third and final segment of Coach's Night Out. This is our last show of the season. We do 12 shows. It's an 11-week season. We do a preseason show. This is going to wrap it up for us. Cedar City Brewing Company is our host, 112 Public Square. And they've got dessert, which Chuck brought to the table with him, a brownie with ice cream, which, outstanding. Advantage Roofing Contractors, LLC, Donnie Self and Rob Painter, Shop Springs Creamery, Jeffrey and Elizabeth Turner, the Salas Realty Group, 120 Public Square, THW Insurance Services, LLC, 321 West Main Street, Cumberland University Athletics, and DT McCall & Sons, Lebanon, Carthage, Lafayette, Franklin, and Cookeville, our sponsors. It's a split week, Thursday, Friday schedule, TSSAA mandate. Nobody said, hey, let's play on Thursday on Halloween. Wilson Central at Cookeville, Mount Juliet at Green Hill, Gallatin at Lebanon on Friday. Friendship Christian goes to the King's Academy in Seymour. Mount Juliet Christian at Clarksville Academy and Community High School from Unionville. will be at Watertown. Watertown wins that game there in the playoffs. Big game. Kind of same scenario for Lebanon High. Lebanon and Gallatin at Clifton Tribble Field, Danny Watkins Stadium. Chuck Gentry, the playoffs begin on Thursday night for Lebanon football.
Yeah, it's when we're in or preached all week about the importance of Friday night and what it means, and basically the playoffs are here and what it means to those seniors. So hopefully we'll show up and be ready to play.
Senior night activities
Start around 6:05.
And I said this was Josh Crouch, Chuck, when the TSSAA mandated this Thursday night for all these folks. You can either bark and complain about it, or you can embrace it. And it sounds like the folks at Lebanon High School have embraced this Halloween game with some really good activities for kids.
Well, Tommy, I think a lot of people on Hip Lebanon think that I'm pretty smart for playing on Halloween. No, just kidding. I don't get on that, but they said it's an ongoing topic. But there's two choices: play on Halloween or forfeit. So we're going to play on Halloween, and then it's a TSSAA mandated game. They did it for refs and shortages and things like that. So you play the hand you're dealt. We knew it. We knew it was senior night. Couldn't have senior night before because of the Mount Juliet game, TV game, all the things. So here we are, week 11, and it's for a playoff spot. It's on Halloween. We're having trunk or treat from 4:30 to 6:30. We'll have several clubs out there. Football team, I went and got $500 worth of candy to give out today. They are doing, if you're dressed up in the costume, you can come out and help form the tunnel with the cheerleaders.
Wow.
And to do that, to get them on the field, I'm letting all students in free. So we're trying to make it an event, and I've invited everybody to come spend Halloween at 500 Blue Devil Boulevard, basically for free. And the student council's got 2 cool shirts that they sold, and we're just trying. Again, I would love to take my 10-year-old trick-or-treating. It ain't in the cards, so when you give them lemons, you make lemonade out of it. And so here we are, and we're going to play football tomorrow night, and it's probably going to rain, but it's still going to be Halloween, and trick-or-treat. Here we go.
You go to Hendersonville last week. You got in a hole, big-time hole. But offensively, you wound up scoring 28 points in a 48-28 loss. But you left points on the field. There were 900-something yards total between the two football teams. It was up and down like a track meet.
Well, we started the game, and they went 3 and out. Rushed the punter, roughed him. They get it. We have a little miscommunication in what's going on. Have man coverage. They throw one up, and touchdown. We're down 7-0. Get the ball, go 3 and out. Have 2 receivers. One ran the wrong route, so they were side by side, and one person was covering both of them. We punt the ball. I'm not going to explain it. Bad call, per se. Every official, every head of officials, everybody has given me the rule. I tried to get an explanation. I have the privilege of watching. We pay a lot for Huddle Sideline. I had got the privilege of watching the good old fair catch signal twice, which means it's a dead ball when it's touched, and didn't happen. And I felt like our young men kind of at that point got a little frustrated. Maybe their focus left. Took a while for us to get started in a hole. Halftime, had a few conversations, did a little soul searching. I felt like we played much better the second half. Still had not good, but much better the second half. And again, we scored 28 points. We left at least 14 on the board, I told our football team afterwards, Mama said they'd be nice like this. If there ain't nothing good to say, don't say nothing at all. And so that's kind of the way I've left it. We talked about it Monday, and we moved on. The previous 9, and now at this point, don't matter. It's about us versus Gallatin and how we show up to play, no matter what's going on. Halloween, Thursday night, rain, senior night, everything. All it comes to our job is to play the football game, and we've done our best to get our kids ready to play and show them the importance of that.
You've had to cram a week's worth of work into one less day of practice and preparation. How have you done that?
Well, where Monday was a little longer, Tuesday was a normal, today was a Wednesday and Thursday combined, a little longer, a little more team-oriented than a mock game. But
and then special teams work at the end of it, I guess.
Well, we normally do special teams in the middle.
Okay.
Today we went offensive warm-up, perimeter, because they're spread and can throw it and air raid, and then we went a whole special teams period, then we went a defensive period, offensive period. Usually we do all of that. We warm up and we just throw it all together, and defense, and then punt return, and then offense, then extra point, and then kickoff return, all that stuff, and a mock game that we just we have a script we go by. And today we didn't do that. We tried to get a little more.
Your kids, again, getting inside the heads of 15 to 18-year-olds, I don't know how coaches do it. Do you know where their heads are?
Some I do, some I don't. Be interesting to see. Again, we talked about, Joe was there the other day, and I told him I'm going to tell you this in front of him because he played here. He can talk about it on the radio. Before I got here, when you played, before you played, when I'm gone, when you're gone, Lebanon and Gallatin was a big deal.
Yeah.
And I don't know, there's people sitting in the nursing home right now that don't know their name, that understands they don't like Gallatin because they played Lebanon football. There are people that understands that this means something. It always has, it always will. That used to be the rival. Besides Mount Juliet, Gallatin is the rival. My first Lebanon high school football game that I ever attended was Lebanon-Gallatin when Gallatin was really good and Coach Medley was coaching.
I bet there was a crowd.
There was a large crowd, and that's when Raymond Laster, the first time I ever saw him riding a little cart around the field, and me and my grandfather came and watched it, and just one of those things that if you're a Blue Devil and you got a heartbeat, this game is supposed to mean something. Forget the fact that it's a playoff game. Forget the fact that it's senior night, and it could be our last one. It's Lebanon versus Gallatin, and if you've got any gumption about you or any Blue Devil pride about you, it should mean something. And there's people that care. There's people that wore the jersey. I said, look at your number. There's people that wore that number that care. And you're going to represent yourself and them on Friday night. How are you going to do that? I can't do it for you. And so people will be watching that care. So.
Offensively, Gallatin, since the Strout kid has arrived along with his dad, who's the head coach, they came from West Tennessee private school. Was it USJ?
USJ.
They were at University School of Jackson. They brought this air raid offense with them, and this kid, just a junior, has got all the career passing yards records and touchdown records at Gallatin, which tells you that in almost 2 years he's got all those records, because Gallatin used to just line up and try to run it down your throat. But they'll spread you out and try to take advantage of some things.
Well, they're going to be 2x1, 2x2, 3x1 for the most part. Every once in a while it might be an empty set, but for the most part they're going to mix power running game, power, zone, counter, with RPOs, pre-snap where he can do it, screens, and then drop back, air raid concepts. We're trying to get 4 or 5 out and do. And he is a huge kid, 6'4", 225 pounds, with a strong arm, accurate, and knows he's a coach's kid. He's been taught and has been around it a lot, so he knows where to go to the football. He doesn't make many bad decisions. He gets it out, gets them in the right play, gets them in the huddle, in and out, and again, does a really good job of what they're asking him to do. He's not much of a runner. He can run, but they don't ask him to do that much. But he'll sit back there and throw the ball where it needs to be thrown accurately. And so makes them very good offensively. And if you've watched us the last couple of games, we've not defended the pass well. And so sitting at home in my recliner, and their defensive coordinator played for me, and he called and he said, hey, you thinking about moving the game? And I was like, well, we can call and ask and see, but it's going to rain on Thursday. And so we've watched the weather all week and talking to their coaches. They don't want it to rain, and I'm to the
box against you. Isaiah Mariah can get out, and you got people who can catch the football.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that we made a decision. We may have stumbled on it. We may have whatever, but we decided to let's go to more zone blocking, less gap scheme, hand the ball to our tailback, let him run, see what happens. Quit running as much read stuff and stuff like that. Quit making Isaiah's job harder than it needs to be, and let's let our tailback run. And then Gian got healthy, and we had a kind of a two-headed monster with Harrison going, and they're different running styles. And then we've got several capable wideouts, and when called upon, Isaiah throw it to them and they'll catch it. And but it has made it better, and our identity is kind of, hey, let's run the football if at all possible. And it makes it easier on your quarterback when you can run. And so anything you can do to make it easier on your quarterback, it makes it better offensively.
What are you going to see from Gallatin defensively, Chuck?
Well, they've been a four-man front, even front for a lot of the year. And then here lately, it's been an odd front more than an even front. They play a lot of man coverage, but they'll mix in some cover three stuff. And then they also match a little personnel depending on who you got on the field is what they'll have on the field. So we'll see both of those fronts. We may see one more than the other based on how they decide to play us. But, they're athletic, run to the football, get a lot of people to the ball, a lot of people to point of attack. And then, just going to have to be a situation where we're going to have to win some one-on-ones. We're going to have to, win block and keep them blocked. And again, sometimes the zone schemes is get you 2-on-1, and with their odd front, their tight front, the way they're doing it, there's a lot of one-on-one blocks, and so it makes it a little different than what we've seen here. But it's a 50-based thing, and then with those same people, a four-man front.
Max Kelly, their kicker, is going to South Carolina. He can kick the fool out of the football. Again, that, in theory, would take your kick return game out of it. You had another good return last week with Jadon Stafford.
Yeah, Jadon's the one, again, that probably got us going out of the slump what we were in. He gets a good kickoff return. We bust a long one, and the juices get flowing. And, hey, we're here on Friday night. We're supposed to be playing football. Where we felt like, maybe we were sleepwalking a little bit but before that. And from that, it's with their kicker, once they get across the 50, they tried a 60-something yard field goal against Dixon County. So they've got a lot of confidence in him, and he can kick it. And the wind was blowing today, and we're standing on the practice field, and it's blowing towards the field house. And I told Jadon and Deuce, I said, if he's kicking off and the wind's blowing that way, he's kicking it on top of the field house. Of course, I was kidding, but that's the type of leg that he has.
But if he's kicking into the wind,
he
got a shot.
He might miss one, and we have to return it 99 and a half. So they haven't. We were talking about it there. I've seen them twice in, of course, we're in the region pool, so we've got all the films.
Yeah.
And I believe they've had 2 returned all year. I'm talking about return for touchdown. I'm talking about just return. And so, most of the time he's got a strong leg and he's going to kick it and it's going to go in the end zone. So, maybe that wind will be a factor tomorrow night and it'll blow in his face when he's kicking it. But he is definitely a weapon and a good kicker, and hats off to him for the lead in his foot.
Shops Rings Creamery, the official chocolate milk of Lebanon Blue Devil football. Their corn maze is now open for kids to enjoy. This week's team meal sponsors: 3 former Blue Devils fed the team on Wednesday: Alds, Carson, Tressler, Ryan Alds, Elliott Carson, Todd Tressler. Thursday's team meal will be Lebanon Mayor Rick Bell. Chuck, best of luck to you and the Blue Devils. By everything that's holy, the playoffs start on Thursday night. Go get them.
Thank you, Tom.
Chuck Gentry, head coach of the Blue Devils, for the final time this 2024 season. Thank you for being with us on Facebook Live. Thanks to Thomas and Richard for putting the video together. Thanks to Cody and Kyle at Town Square Social and Cedar City Brewery for allowing us this space and taking care of us. I'm Tommy Bryan, and I will talk to you later. And I told Susie on